Okay, I've got to remake this. I just had to delete making the last live stream because the connection went funny and then the screen went. I've just been trying to recover. I've been feeling physically sick, mentally, emotionally drained. Just keep thinking of what that social worker landlord said before my mother died 13 years ago, saying, almost threatening me, you might want to check you haven't inherited your mother's cancer, and saying to me, you know too much. I went up to Beachy Head like this, no underwear on here, in slippers, slopping up and down in the rain. Got absolutely soaked through to the skin. Just over 24 hours. Well, it's coming up to 72 hours, nearly 72 hours ago, I reported a domestic abuse incident here, and it's the first time I've actually given a statement. And my partner's back here. The hospital put me through absolute hell, the DGH hospital. I'll come to that in a minute. I've got to very urgently make contact with someone, because there's a reason why I'm still alive. There's a reason why I've gone through everything I have and why I'm still here. Don't ask me why. I'm not afraid to die because I know where I'm going. And I know that this is like suicide programming under the British MK Ultra. Someone from on Facebook has made contact with me. Someone I'm blood related to on my father's side. And I want her to see this. My middle sister has had a sex change about 11 years ago, and it's not the biggest surprise in the world because back in the early 80s, she dressed as a boy. My late mother went on Southern Counties radio to talk about her wanting to wear boys' school uniform and the action man that she had, the pull string cord, because she was into everything mannish. She's more masculine than men. She likes motorbikes. She's really, shaven-headed, and she painted the devil's face on the back of her leather jacket. She was, ever since I can remember, she was like having a brother, but a real boyish brother. But yeah, she had one of those 1970s, 1980s action men. I remember she didn't like me pulling the cord. And she was going to go on the 20th century. Alan Titchmarsh, the 20th century antiques roadshow with this action man. You can see me and Mum in the background, and we would have gone on the show had the head not fallen off and had we still had the box for the Cindy caravan. So yeah, my sister works for these BASTARDS at St Mary's House. And St Mary's House have been part of my torture. So if I identify as a man, I might get the help. I wouldn't be put through all this shit. Excuse my French, but I'm going to be using some, I don't swear, but it's all going to come out. I was brought up to be extremely polite. On my mother's side, my mother had a privileged upbringing during the war. She went to an all-girls school, and she was adopted. She had an illegal abortion in New York by a male prostitute. A New York cop took her under her wing. Got a lot of demonic attachments in our family, and on my father's side there was violence between my mother and my father, and it was a locum who said me and my middle sister need trauma-based therapy, what the Vietnam War veterans had. And I've spoken about the Tavistock Institute. I've talked about Adamant. You know, my middle sister idolized Bros. She got Adamant to write to me. And if you look up, I'm going off on one a bit here, but this is all part and part of the satanic agenda. She got Adamant to write to me, and he wrote to me before my 21st, just after my 21st birthday, when he made a documentary for Channel 4. And he wrote to me about his demons, because his best friend is a punk who worked across the road from our house in Seaford. And Katie, I want you to hear this, because I believe I'm here for a reason, and they're trying to shut me down, because I've got so much to say. I met this John Alexander Patterson, who was disappeared out of the psychiatric unit. Oh God. I don't know if this is the right time to say all of this, but if you look up Mark Devlin, Musical Truth 2, he's exposing mind control and satanic ritual abuse in the 1980s, and even Duran's video for, what is it? Union of the Snake. They show children in cages. Oh my gosh, it's all there. But even I know more than this Mark Devlin does about Adamant, because he's doing the Prince Charming pose and he's doing the Baphomet pose. Katie, I just want to say I feel very strange, because I'm going to message you and I'm in a bit of a dissociative state here, but to say the least, I can't contact my sisters. Boots on the ground stuff. I can't contact my sisters. If you know what Tanya's like. You may know what Bronya's like. A lot of people are scared of Tanya. Now, I've got to stick to the truth, the facts here, because we know that the police are in the club with the transgender agenda, you know. And my sister was well and truly, you know, as I said, if I identified as a man, I don't think they'd be putting me through this. I want you to see this, because I also want you to see my newspaper article. Right. First of all, I'm just going to wait there. Wait there a sec. Right. It's taken me a lot to do this. Katie, I hope you see this, Katie. Here is an article which means more now than it did ever, because it didn't mean anything much at the time. Now it means a lot. Brave Bryony battles on, right? That's me at home wearing my Adamant t-shirt. My careers advisor wanted to do this at college. I was doing care work with the elderly, caring for residents in an old people's home, and I was bullied by the residents. Now, you know how it is working with the elderly, and I was also bullied by the staff. There's this woman in the scullery. It's kind of like being Cinderella. But yeah, no, I knew that the NVQ thing, I could tell it was a scam, and like everything, and I'm exposing a lot in my own personal circumstances. But let me tell you, I've never worked harder in my life than when I've been on severe disability, being with the corruption I'm exposing, forced to sleep rough, everything, you name it. If you are genuinely suffering with your mental health, this is what they do to you. And Katie, I'm reaching out to you because you've reached out to me. As I said, this meant nothing much at the time in 2002 or whenever it was. And I've had a 26-year battle with the mental health services. I'm 40 now. You said you haven't seen me since I was a toddler, but we actually saw each other. We went to Cornwall when I was 9 years old. I don't know if you remember, with Geordie and I get extremely emotional and nostalgic because I loved our little Geordie. And my mum and I went into an antique doll shop, and because my mum and I like dolls, and she got a Victorian doll and I got an Edwardian doll. Apparently they have demonic attachments. Now I'm really sorry to hear about your daughter having leukemia. I did read your message. I'm documenting on YouTube. I set up this YouTube channel to just document when my mental health deteriorated. I'm just documenting everything that's been happening to me with regards to trying to get help with mental health, but it's a lot to go into. So it's like there's so much stuff I've talked about, but I've been in supported accommodation when my mother was dying, and I didn't get the help. I moved to Eastbourne for that, and basically Adamant was my escapism. But I was mentally and emotionally. Now, as I said, the locum I saw, Dr. Innes Cameron from the Channel Islands, he said, you, me, and my middle sister need trauma-based therapy. And I never saw him again. He said, you need what the Vietnam War veterans had, because my middle sister has had this sex change. Are you aware of the violence between my mother and father when I was a baby? Well, it was all normalised. You know, my mum said it's about this incident when I was a baby, when 40 odd years ago, 39 years ago, my father was strangling. I'm sorry that you have to hear this, because I know you're related to my father as well. But he's saying it was my mother. Well, it takes two to tango, but she's obviously was terrified, and I believe her, because he was violent to Tanya, my sister, and you may know about that. And that's why she was then violent to me when I was a toddler. But did you know, because in America, they talk about this stuff, and in the UK, they cover it up. In America, they say that a toddler, only has to hear two parents screaming and shouting, and it does something to their hypervigilance, and it keeps them in that state, and it causes brain damage, and it does something to shorten fiblets, something inside them, and it shortens their lifespan. So I could have a shortened lifespan just because of that. And I'm documenting the trauma. If you've ever heard of the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations and the Committee of 300, I've met people in the psychiatric unit. I've met John Alexander Patterson. I've met people, and I believe them. It's a South African survivor of satanic ritual abuse. A woman in her 60s, very well spoken, because she was sort of this elite, because the elite do this stuff. So that's why I believe Jeanette Archer, and that's why I've got these crazy people threatening me, because I have been outspoken, and I've given my phone number's not online, by the way. I'm not that stupid. I've privately given my mobile number to Dan from Police Abusing Powers, Tina Chave of the Independent Advice Network. There are people who are scammers, who are saying they can offer you help and they don't. Andy Devine, all that lot. People in the Truthers movement. So, yeah, a lot has happened. Excuse me for looking like this, but I was feeling like I thought I was going to go and toss myself off Beachy. I keep thinking, but it's called suicide programming. And I did research into programming, of how people can go through their whole lives. Because my mother brought me up like a Jane Austen lady. You know, she was, mum was very middle class and all that. Yeah. Very prim and proper. And brought up extremely well. Well, you keep it inside, and then it all comes out like verbal diarrhea. That's programming. That is a form of programming. And I've just been put through, yet again, 24 hours of... It's insane in itself what I'm being put through, but it's orchestrated. I've been through police brutality. I've been slandered in the paper. Despite this, that's when I did care work. The Herald newspaper, they've all destroyed me, and they all know who they are. So I'm going to tell you what's just happened 72 hours ago, or nearly 72 hours ago. Deep breath. So basically, my partner, if you're just watching this for the first time, Katie, I feel strange because I know we're strangers to each other. Basically what's happened is, nearly 72 hours ago, a lot of this is going to sound ridiculous, and it is, and infantile and petty, but the police who took me down from Beachy Head, they're saying what me and Juliet have said: coercive control is a criminal offence now, and it's the UK says it's up to 5 years in prison, but the police have been targeting me all this time. So I warned my partner about this. He's the kind of person that I think that I could bring home to my mother, and my mother's not here. I'm completely on my own. I lost my soulmate mother. My partner Darren is very similar to me, but, and this is the big but, I've shared my heart and soul with him. I shared bank details, passwords, everything. I've changed all of that. But for me, it's him and his parents making me think, oh, his mum said, oh, it's like he's been sent to you. Oh, this 6 years ago at the start of our relationship. Oh, because my mother and I were very spiritual. I won't go into all of that, but we took our faith seriously. And his mum was like, oh, it's like he was sent to you. And, we're very similar. He's born in Surrey. He went to a grammar school just like Tanya, except he's not a tyrant like Tanya, my sister. And, you know, I don't know how, you know, you're on my father's side, Katie, but my father had a thing about my sister going to a grammar school, and he admitted on Facebook that his father beat him, and then he was physically abusive to my sister. I escaped all the physical abuse when I was 4, but I was a sponge when I was a baby, and that's why I am the way I am, and that's why I'm being targeted by these narcissistic psychopaths everywhere. So basically, I couldn't get the help with the bereavement and all of that, blah blah blah. And I had a hoarding and clutter problem before and after my mother died, because I had an acute attachment towards her. Darren's gone and walked into my problems 6 years ago. Adamant, I had this satanic, because he, you know, Adamant is a Freemason, you know, he's in with the Queen. You know, he wrote to me about his demons, but he's in the club. His dad was in the paedophile sex ring in Dolphin Square. He got in with the Queen. His mum sewed. My mum would have been interested in that, because mum painted a picture of the Queen during her coronation, and she made some of my clothes. And if she'd known that Adamant's mum had sewn the Queen's wedding dress or a sleeve of it, she would have been interested. But yeah, Adamant and all of that, I was into Adamant, and he's a practicing Satanist. Well, his band definitely are. I mean, crumbs, I've recently seen Toya Wilcox doing the hand gestures. Mark Devlin didn't cover that, but Bronya was down there at the bandstand when Toya Wilcox was performing. I don't know, Katie, I don't know how well you know my sisters, but you know, we're all a bit, you know, like that, you know, a bit sort of out there. But this stuff is real, let me tell you. And Bronya will tell you, you know, she had, oh my God, she had, oh, what's his name? Uri Geller's phone number when we went to see him, and he said the signs that we'd have when our mum died, and, you know, all the paranormal stuff. You know, this stuff is real. Sorry if I'm going all over the place here, but Adamant, idolatry is, the Bible talks about idolatry. You know how Bronya, when she was a teenager, she used to dress like Matt Goss, because Matt Goss, but like a man, not like a brossette, not like the good teenage girls. She dressed like a man. She was always like a man, always like a brother. So she's living as a man, and she's bought into the satanic agenda, and I've spoken out about it. And at the same time, and then when I met John Alexander Patterson, who he went to Scotland Yard with NHS baby murder documents, and the Ministry of Defence zoomed him down and had him shoved in the psychiatric unit. And he was disappeared out of there. And I've got a damning ward review recording where people didn't turn up for appointments, a housing officer, adult social care. And I'd been arrested and dragged into the psychiatric unit in 2019 in April, and 4 months later dragged out of there. So I've been put through a lot of hell. So basically what's happened is my partner has walked in. I'm running on adrenaline right now, so please bear with me. Basically what's happened is Darren walked into all my problems. If you know anything about hoarding and clutter, look it up, put in the search engine NHS hoarding and clutter. It's on the NHS website. Hoarding and clutter is part of I never used to have a hoarding problem. It's to do with OCD, but it's also to do with bereavement. But it's never been diagnosed. This is just the thing, you see, because supported accommodation, this this cretin made me homeless. So I'm not responding to the title of this live stream yet, because I'm desperately putting a message out there to Katie, this relative of mine who's made contact with me. But basically, Darren, my partner, we knew each other to say hello to, and he walked into all of my problems. I was trying to hide the clutter from him because I was putting on a mask. I was going to the Adamant concerts and everything, and I looked like a Babylonian whore. In the end, crumbs. I mean, if you know anything about that, what's her name? Georgina Bale, Andrew Sachs' granddaughter, the Saxgate scandal. She was in a group called the Satanic Sluts, and Adamant got her out of the adult industry. Well, I tell you what, she saw me, and I tell you what, I look more like a satanic slut than she did. Crumbs. It really is all programmed into you, isn't it? All this stuff, the millennials. I can't stand it, but it's like you join it, don't you? It's like I started off looking fairly. I got mum to design a jacket for me, winning best dressed competition, looking like a Babylonian whore. But I got out of all the Adamant stuff, and then Darren walks into my flat and sees the hoarding and clutter and everything. I was a mess, and the toilet was blocked. I had leaks from the toilet system going through to the hair salon below me, a leak from the washing machine kept leaking. It was like, oh my gosh, it's too much, all of this. And I kept asking for help. I kept begging for help. And people said, oh, if you're a criminal, they'll help you. If you were on drugs, they'd help you, blah, blah, blah. And same old, same old. So it's been 26 years. And then I've entered a whole new world, an underbelly of corruption. So nearly 72 hours, about 72 hours ago, not last night, but the night before, I've been in these temporary accommodations because I couldn't manage the accommodation. I've been in that private rented flat, kicked out of supported accommodation at the time of my mother's death. Couldn't physically eat. Then I couldn't maintain a private tenancy. So after, was it the end of 2009 up until the 2016, I couldn't manage that private tenancy. And my partner may have been he has been emotionally abusing me. It's not maybe, he has been. This is what I've got to get out of my head. I've been saying, oh, poor Darren and all of this. No, this is very serious. Caroline Ansell, the local MP, who's both MPs, her and Stephen Lloyd have been complicit in my failings. She offered him a caring role through Care for the Carers. Now, in all the confusion and all of that, I went along with it because I was ill. You go along with it. And it's, you just want you don't want your partner to be a bloody carer. You want your partner to love you. Excuse my French. But you're just going along with it. You're like, you can't see the wood through the trees, even if you're an intelligent person. So you go through all this nonsense. And there was this Jamie, funnily enough, he went to my primary and secondary school. You can imagine how embarrassing it was. And I've got something funny to say about Jamie from Care for the Carers, because he actually said I'll say something humorous. I'll throw something humorous in. Bronya had a friend when I was 3 years old in High Wycombe. what was her name? Diana, whom I share a birthday with. And Diana, when I saw her in Mum's flat before she died, Diana said, "Oh, I remember you saying when you were 3 years old, 'Can I play?'" And I remember Jamie saying at secondary school, "Oh, you always used to say, 'Can I play?'" But, you know, Bronya's friend said I was sweet. But yeah, I saw this Jamie from Care for the Carers 6 years ago, and me and Darren were talking to this Jamie, and it's embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. But I don't need a carer. I've been a carer. I was bullied doing care work, and I bullied by the residents I cared for, and bullied by the staff. Fast forward to me then being illegally, forcibly injected, sedated, illegally coerced into having a PCR test, because the PCR tests are they're contaminated. It was John Patterson, the fraud investigator who was put in the psych unit, who said to me that being forcibly injected is a hangable offence under Nuremberg Treaty. Now, so Darren's gone and taken this caring role through Care for the Carers under Caroline Ansell MP 6 years ago, and he's always made out that he's trying to help me. Now, I couldn't see the wood through the trees, because Eastbourne Borough Council is one of the most corrupt councils, and I was about to learn this. The first place that I was put in was the Saffron, which there's a Facebook page called Survivors of the Saffron or something, and there's a petition from 2015 where they're saying they're basically saying that the food bank, which is part of the Trestle Trust, and the Trestle Trust are part of the Illuminati, because 99% of all charities are under the Illuminati, and the Trestle Trust basically they were ignoring disabled people who were being bullied by police protected criminals. And that's why I reported Tina Che from the Independent Advice Network for falsely offering me help, because she said, and I've got evidence of her falsely offering me help, saying that she's got QCs on standby in London with charitable rights organisations. And on the phone, she said to me, "You're on severe disability. You shouldn't be in these places, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't be hanging up on you." I have got so many recordings of violence from licensees, from criminals, from people from the local ombudsman, local government ombudsman and the council, terminating my calls. I've been through it all. So you can't trust people anywhere. This is what I'm trying to say. But with my partner, I was getting so angry the other night, and a PTSD response, saying that, you know, you came to me with your Hebrew Aramaic scriptures, because he's an expert on the Hebrew Aramaic scriptures. My partner, he brought me the name of Yahweh. So I used the name Yahweh. We'd say grace together. We'd say the name of Yahweh, our Heavenly Father's name. And so I've gone from that to calling him Satan. He's going to be arrested. Well, there's an investigation, shall we say. He's had me arrested for disagreeing with him, for touching his kettle. People say, no, it's not OCD, Bryony, it's controlling behaviour. He's left me to sleep rough. So he's been telling the police, who are thugs, and it's all coming out about the police and their crimes, not just against me, but many people across the UK. So Katie, in my 40 years of not having friends and family to turn to because of my sisters, my mother would be 84. We were like that, me and mum. My mum would be 84. She was my everything. I've got no friends or family. So the fact that you've reached out to me, it's got to come from somewhere, because I did, look, I stabbed myself through the arm with a 6-inch knife in the Strand Hotel. The Strand Hotel has been closed down and it's now being used for illegal immigrants claiming asylum through racketeering. Many of the men, some of them criminals, just like the UK is protecting the criminals in our country already, and they're closing down all these hotels whilst our own people. This is my UK, Katie, here is my passport, that's my birth certificate as the living woman and the legal fiction. Do you know what? I've cried. I've carried so much pain all my life. That's my birth certificate from High Wycombe. I've got a thing about my birthplace. So the fact that you, a blood relative, have contacted me is getting me out of this disassociative state. Here is my British birth passport. I was born in this country. They've done everything to me. They have done everything to me. They are using mental health, Katie. They are using mental health to kill us off. They are doing this to loads of people who genuinely have mental health issues, not criminals, because I met a criminal, a man in his 50s or 60s, who'd been to prison. He'd done so many crimes, and he said he bought a flashy car at the Saffron. These awful temporary accommodations where loads of people are complaining to the MP office. It's not just me. I've got a crucial witness, Juliet, who's a member of the public, who's going through cancer treatment, who was attacked in the street by random drunks trying to help me. Okay, Juliet is all I've got. I've let her know that I'm going to make contact with you, Katie. I cannot believe you couldn't make it up. My mother had an amazing life at sea in the 50s and 60s. And you know, she met my father in 1970 at sea. He wanted to get away from his family because of violence. My mother was adopted. She went and travelled. She had an amazing life. And she said, people in this country, they moan, but few do anything about it. She shouted in church against the appraisal of my headmaster because the PTA, it's all coming out now, the PTA wanted to get rid of him because he was cruel to us children at our Catholic primary school. And the governors, the nuns there, were trying to shut my mum down, and she shouted in church against his appraisal. I know, I was there. I was 12 years old. I sunk into the pew. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, but oh my gosh, she is so brave. And people, she's like Mrs. Ledbetter in The Good Life, Penelope Keith, you know. Oh, what's this? Now, who do you think you are, Mrs. Ledbetter? And she said, I am the silent majority. And it was the silent majority who said to my mother, you should get a medal for what you're doing. So, Katie, it means so much to me that you are reaching out to me, because I've got a lot of real nutcases out there, and a very tiny number, if any, who quietly calling me a hero, like brave and all that. And I mean the real genuine ones, not the covert narcissists. I'm talking about the genuine ones. So yeah, my mum said, but this has been such an eye-opener. But basically, so what I'm trying to say to you is 72 hours ago, after 6 years of being with my partner, being in these temporary accommodations, I had this, as I said, a criminal who said to me that he bought a flashy car for his doctor to get him out of trouble, to give him a diagnosis to get him out of trouble, because he was a criminal. And he said to me, "It's you nice people," and he laughed sadistically, saying, "It's you nice people, you know, you spent your whole life being nice, and then one day you totally lose it, and you get a knife and you end up stabbing someone to death, and you get put away in prison. It's you nice people." Yeah, that's the UK system. That is what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Did you know that my father used to, when I was a baby, my father used to, I think of Del Boy as well. My father actually, he used to serve Del Boy, David Jason, in the early 80s, and he called him Del Boy. God, the police system. Wow. I mean, prior to that, I had attempted rape in 2011, and I was given a Lindsay DePaul video on self-defense in the early 90s. People must have thought it would come in handy, this self-defense video from the early 90s when I was a child, because I used this self-defense taking control on you know, grabbing the down below region to stop my sex attacker. And that was nothing. I laughed that off. I put him 2 years in prison and 10 years on a sex offenders register. And in the last 6 years, it's like this was meant to happen. I could almost see in the back of my mind that this was going to happen. But you go along with the British stiff upper lip. You know that something's going to happen. You know it's going to happen, but you don't know it's going to happen, if you know what I mean. It's like, seriously? You're giving my partner a caring role? Even his dad said to me at the Saffron, "How do you feel?" I mean, his parents are very middle class. Darren's middle class. I've been brought up middle class. They're from Surrey. My mum was born in Surrey. She went to an all-girls school, had a privileged upbringing in southeast London. And, you know, Tanya's grammar school, he's grammar school. Okay, I don't mean to be rude, but my father's on the working class side of it. But, you know, you go along with the system. And this is where it's come to. And honestly, Katie, I'm reaching out to you because there's no one else. You're blood related. And if blood is thicker than water, I want to know, like, in my mind, in my screwed up, traumatized head, I want to know where this is going. Because I've put so much on this lovely lady, Juliet, and she's caring for her autistic nephew. She's got problems with her sister who's got mental health issues, and she's a member of the public who was attacked by random drunks trying to help me, and I can't put all the stress on her. She's up north at the moment. But honest to goodness, the real Bryony is breaking out. That's what I'm doing. I'm breaking out of this. There's something in me that's breaking out. And I'm about to tell you, okay, 44 minutes have gone by and I still haven't got to the crux of it. But it's because I've got so much to say. I've got to get it out. This is part of the programming. And I want you to have this. I'm going to title this to you. So I'm not part of any YouTube or Facebook group. I am telling you, I'm on my own. I'd like to know about Tanya Cannot Be Trusted. Tanya bullied me. She would not let me see mum in that hospital, Eastbourne DGH hospital. She would not let me see my dying mother without her. She is very dangerously manipulative, and Simon knows that. And Iris, her best friend, knows that. 3 generations of friendship. Their mothers were best friends. Their daughters were best friends. Tanya and Janet. Now, Iris was like a second mother to me. I don't know. I hope and pray she's still alive. If she's alive, she would be coming up to 88, I think. But she was like a second mother to me. My grandmother, my adoptive grandmother, she died when I was 8, and she would be 118 now, and mum would be 84, and I feel like a broken child. I'm still that child, Katie. I am full. I'm carrying so much pain, and I can't get these psychopaths to see it. I'm hoping and praying that you, because I could swear my head off. I really could. This is the real Bryony trying to come out without having a sex change, or without looking like a Babylonian whore. you know that blonde bombshell programming that they do to us. That is all BS. There was a time when I couldn't go out without thick slap on, and now you should see me. You should have seen me in my slippers. I went out like this, no bra on, in my slippers. I've got to get this out. I've got to get to the crux of this, because I don't want any of this. Okay, this is so infantile. It's so demented. I don't want my partner arrested, but coercive control is a criminal offence. So nearly 72 hours ago, gosh, it's taken me 47 minutes to say this. He basically, I'm cut right. I am currently, this flat that I'm in belongs to a woman who's got a home in Nigeria, and I've never met her. I'm here as a place of safety because I had a whole year, more than a year, of being attacked in my council accommodation. Look at my YouTube live stream, evidence of licensee attacking me, where there's blood left on the door. I've got loads of recordings on my dictaphone. I don't have a smartphone. I feel twice my age. I feel like an 80-year-old. I'm so tired. I've been gaslit by this corrupt. I've been a victim of the Eastbourne Borough Council corruption. So basically, give me a second. It takes me ages. So basically, I'm here because I got with the hoarding and clutter. I've got stuff with Steve Churchill from the food bank. That's Darren's friend. He's turned funny towards me. A lot of people are turning funny towards me. There are loads of demented, jealous narcissists out there and gaslighting. And I'm going to tell the truth to the day I die. I tell you what, there was just one nice person I saw last night. Rob, an Irish security guard. The Irish, some of them have got it in them, to Northern Irish chap, nice chap. The other security guards turned out to be, idiots. I'm trying to keep my language as pleasant as I can, because I could use some nasty language, but I'm not like them. Believe me, they've pushed me. But he was a nice chap. Anyway, God, sorry, it's taken me 50 minutes and I still haven't said it. I still haven't said the title of this live stream. So I've been in all these temporary accommodations. God, it's taking me forever. And Darren had this caring role through Care for the Carers. Now, I don't know why in 6 years they kept discharging duty to me. I complain, like, for example, I'd complain about bed bugs crawling on me. I'd show evidence of it. Then they'd type up fraudulent Section 184s, and I had a firearms police officer throw me to the ground outside the council, bruising me, because I ran out of there saying I was going to jump off Beachy Head because I'd had enough of them discharging duty to me. And he had a taser and a gun, and you couldn't make this stuff up. Jackanory couldn't make this stuff up. And so basically, yeah, and well, I would record, I'd complain about leaks. I complained on behalf of a Filipino lady who was on steroids because of bed bugs. She got a UTI, urinary tract infection, because some drug addicted left his drugs lying around, and then he left feces around the bowl. These people are disgusting, honest to goodness. Every time I complained about heating on behalf of other people, you name it, my honesty, everything was ripped apart and ripped into, and they'd type up all this stuff. So they'd discharge duty to me. Funny, isn't it, how throughout all of this, what was Darren doing? Where were his parents? Because his mum said to me, it's like he was sent to you from up there. My sweet, sweet, gentle Darren, who has worked for the chaplaincy team are who the Beachy Head chaplains. You know the Beachy Head chaplains, the people who talk you out of suicide on our world famous suicide spot. Those people, they work for the chaplaincy team. Darren's worked for the I saw him because I saw him on the chaplaincy desk about a decade ago. So I always knew him to say hello to. Yeah, one Christmas with his family, never saw them again. Apart from his dad at the Saffron saying to me on the quiet, how do you feel about him being in a caring role for you? And I said, I never asked for it. I went along with it. And he said, hang on, I'm confused. So his dad is just as... So 72 hours ago, it took a lot of guts for me, because of my PTSD and because I don't have a mother and a father, and I'm too afraid to contact my father. You can pass this on to my father, because I still call him, in my childish mind, I know him as Daddy. At the age of 40, I know him as Daddy. And there's a lot of pain. There's so much pain and disassociation. And you'll know about it if you know anything about what happened between my mother and my father, because my mother said, when this would have been in the early 80s, when she said there was a time when my father had his hands around her neck, and she said it's like he had bipolar, because he switched. And he went back into the living room and he put me on his lap, and I was just a baby. And I don't remember, but my mother told me this as an adult. And she said she went in there with a rolling pin and she was going to smash his head in with a rolling pin. And the only thing that stopped her was me sitting on his lap as a baby. And she didn't do it because as most women who go through domestic violence, as I've since then learned in my 30s on my own, I've learned that if she had done that, it was in the same way that with my sex attacker, the one I put 10 years on a sex offenders register and 2 years of prison for attempted rape, I had in my hand, as I was trying to get him off me, I pulled off a weight in my hand, and what stopped me from clonking him over the head was I too, like my mother with the rolling pin, if she'd bashed in my father's head, in that moment they call it fight or flight, and this is why women get off with manslaughter and not murder as self-defense, because a policewoman said to me it goes back to caveman times when cave women did it as self-defense. She said to me, and this is what my mother said happened with my father, same with the attempted rape. What stopped her was the sudden thought of, if I bash his head in with a rolling pin, Bryony will be traumatized for life because I was just a baby sitting on his lap. I'll go to prison and she'll go into care. I never went into care. I told the locum doctor Inez Cameron that I had had a very blessed childhood. I had lovely holidays abroad. I went to Yugoslavia and Greece and Disney World when I was 7. And I know all about Disney World and the programming, and he was a 33rd degree Freemason. Yeah. that was disassociation. Do you know what the locum said to me? Doesn't matter. I wanted to hug him. He said, you need trauma-based therapy, you and Bronya. My mother and my father, I will have seen the fear in my mother's eyes, and the time when my mother put me in the buggy and shut me outside in a state of anger, and she sat down and burst into tears. She told me this herself. And she got Patsy, Trisha Shapara, who's one of the executors of my late mother's estate, to come round and look after me, because she too had Anna, who was a baby. I will have absorbed that as a sponge. That's brain damage. Only the Americans know about this. They've done the research. My mum should have stayed in America, actually. I mean, she wanted to settle in New Zealand. She lived in America and Canada. But they're the experts in all of this stuff. So, yeah. So basically now it's like Tanya was like this with Simon, and I'm not going to go into that, but Simon could tell you, because my mother told me about an incident where she didn't go into any details, but Tanya's become like my father, because his father beat him, he beat Tanya. Tanya and Bronya were violent towards me, and they will not admit to it, but my grandma witnessed it. My grandma would be 118 now, but my grandma witnessed it when I was a child with Bronya. She told her she had ulcerated legs. She was in the armchair. She said, get off her, Bronya, get off her. She's trying to drag me up the stairs. They will not admit to the violence. People will not admit to their own violence. Tanya was violent to Simon. She put her hand through the glass when she made him a birthday cake. That's now had an impact on me in my relationships. But I've been the empath, the super empath. So I've taken the violence from men, and then I've reacted to their coercive control or their violence or emotional abuse. I've reacted because it's all come out. I've then lashed out after years and years of taking it all. Sorry, bear with me. I hope this makes sense, because it's all coming out a bit. It's all coming out. So much has happened. But because of my partner calling the police on me because of his OCD or his controlling behaviour, because I wouldn't sit still, do as I'm told. He had a caring role to care for the carers. Caroline Ansell MP suggested it. But I didn't have a choice. I needed help and support. And my partner has taken that on upon himself. And now the cycle of abuse and control has been passed on. The local authorities used him as a scapegoat. The psychiatric unit banned him from visiting me, even though he had a caring role through care for the carers. Yet they'd only allow him in the council on my behalf to speak for me. You couldn't make this stuff up. He could now. There's an investigation, and the suspect is going to be arrested. And he's listening to all of this. He could be watching this right now, but he knows this. So if I've warned my partner that he could go to prison, but he wouldn't listen to me. So nearly 72 hours ago, I'm here for my safety because I've been attacked in council accommodation. Some of it's on YouTube. I've had my bedroom window smashed. I've been attacked by licensees, police protected criminals. I've been arrested every time I reported it. Dragged into the psychiatric unit, dragged out of there in handcuffs, you name it, everything. And now my sweet, gentle partner, with his Hebrew Aramaic scriptures, man of Yahweh, I've then called him Satan and devil because he's had me arrested. He'd pick up the phone to call the police because I wouldn't sit down, do as I'm told. I was told by the domestic abuse hotline that you're not safe. They said you're not safe with him. He's a predator. There are upstanding pillars of the community who obviously have a great reputation, but behind closed doors, they're absolute you-know-whats to their partners. Yeah, we all know about that. But it's when you're with someone who you look into their eyes and you're saying to Darren, look into my eyes, because we're so alike. Now, if sweet, gentle Darren, eyes are the window of the soul, if he really has been doing what I think he has, and people at the food bank, Leslie, the food bank advocate, said, we think he's been abusing you. People think he's been abusing me. And I of course, don't want to believe it, because that would make him Satan. That would make him pure evil. That would make him a sociopath. I don't want to believe it. But for the first time, I've actually had to give a statement. Because Juliet said, you've got to tell the police, even if he's pushed and shoved you. I've been going crazy. Right. I've been driven absolutely crazy because the domestic abuse people saying he's a predator, you're not safe with him, we'll call you back. Then they don't. Then they're saying to me, they're doing what the police do. They're saying, and I've recorded a lot of my calls, they're then doing what the police are doing. They're saying you're blocking important calls coming in. This is domestic abuse people who are saying that I'm with a predator, that even if it's not physical abuse, I'm not safe with him. And then they're terminating my call and saying we've got more important calls coming through. You couldn't make this stuff up. So he's got the laptop I gave him. He could be watching this. He could be up to no good. Will you do that, Darren? If you're watching downstairs, if you're listening out there, you do that. Doesn't matter. I've had the Masons threaten me with prison. These demented psychopaths. They've taken me in a Serco truck. A law-abiding citizen, extremely law-abiding citizen, vulnerable woman, threatened with prison while these criminal degenerates Me. And I'm threatened with prison by these Luciferian Freemasons. I don't care. I don't care. Like Jeanette Archer, I'm looking forward to death because I know where I'm going after this. Sorry, can I just apologise, Katie, because there's a lot that's happened, and I've got to smile because if I don't laugh, I'll cry and go insane. But basically, 72 hours ago, he basically said, first of all, that me having the keys to Eben's flat, this Nigerian lady who's out in Nigeria at the moment, I've never met her. This is her home. And I've had to report a domestic. I've never met the owner of this flat. And I've had to report. In all the confusion, I've had to report the emotional abuse. Because he said that me having Eben's keys is theft. And I said, no, you had me locked out the other night. You knew that I was coming back from the hotel because I've been emailing the council about my council accommodation. He's got a flat to go to, by the way. He's got a home and I'm not allowed in there. But I've been normalising all of this. Oh, well, you can't stay there. No, he won't let me. I'm not allowed to touch anything. He's been an idiot. I told people, oh, he suffers with his mental health. It's OCD. I'm the problem. No, it's emotional abuse. You don't tell your partner to sit down, roll over, lie down. If you don't, I'll call the police. It's demented. And I realise that now. I'm breaking free from the programming. So all this demented behaviour, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. And an hour has gone by and I still haven't got to the crux of it. But basically, so the keys to Eben's flat, the police, I've recorded police hanging up on me a million, zillion, bazillion times. Bazillion, as Dr. William Snowblen says. The ex 84th degree Freemason turned vampire turned man of Yahweh. The bazillionth time that I've been arrested. The bazillionth time that I've had my 101 calls terminated. So basically, bear with me, please. It's taking me over an hour. I'm mentally and physically ill from this targeting. So I'm dripping sweat as well. I'm filthy. I haven't washed and I'm not eating and functioning properly. So he said that I couldn't have the keys to Eben's flat because it's quote unquote theft. Yet I have the permission to stay here of this woman that I've never met. And while I was on the phone to this care coordinator that my GP got me in contact with, I've had to change my GP several times, by the way. While I was on the phone to this care coordinator, he then whispered to me, I'm going to get some keys cut. He had the keys cut and then he took the keys from me and I've never even used this new set of keys. So when he went to his flat and then came back, I said, where are the keys? Where are the keys? And I went into his bag, and this is what I've given a statement over to the police who took me down from Beachy Head. I said, where are the keys? And I started swearing, which I don't do under normal circumstances. Give me the effing keys. And I went into the bag and he started pushing and shoving me and ripping the bag and I stumbled. I said, give me the brand new keys that you had cut for me that you've now taken from me, because he's playing games. It's interesting that Steve Churchill, who's praying for us, said, I'm playing Darren. Find out who your master is. I mean, I've wondered if Steve is a Mason, because he's used the phrase, we're going round in circles and hanging up on me, and I'm sick to the back teeth of it. I worked with a Freemason when I was 19. And no, it wasn't Dave Prowse. I'm not talking about Dave Prowse. In case my sister Tanya watches this, I'm not talking about Dave Prowse, who used to ring me up just because I met him when I was 22. No, I'm talking about the Freemason I worked with at the Garden Centre in New Haven. The one who told my mother I should be impregnated and he'd like to be the quote unquote one to do it. And he shoved his tongue in my mouth and he said if I ever wanted help, come to him. Sorry, but I don't want the easy way. I don't want to lie my way through life. I've spent my life from day one telling the bloody truth. And I'm going to tell the truth to the day I bloody die. And I'm going to tell you what happened at the hospital. It's taken me an hour and 11 minutes to get this far. So 72 hours ago, my partner... And there's going to be an investigation as to whether he has still got this caring role from Care for the Carers that Caroline Ansell MP got him, because he said he's no longer in a caring role. I went to Care for the Carers, was it a few years ago, to ask if he was still in a caring role and about his emotional abuse towards me. And they said to me, the man I saw there gave me a cup of tea. I had only drunk a quarter of that cup of tea before I was then being bullied out of there. With the mug in my hand, I'd sat down with this man and I'd drunk a quarter of the cup of tea, telling him about my partner, and then they're bullying me out of there. And this shaven-headed woman, Rachel, who doesn't look like a nice... I think she's a lesbian, because she said my partner, referring to her as a she. And I have to say, homosexual men tend to be nicer than homosexual women, because she even admitted to me at A4E, the employment people who help homeless and vulnerable people into employment. She said to me about a decade ago that she wasn't a very nice person at school. Yeah, I know, because I remember a lesbian girl in my class who bullied my violin teacher friend Heather, and yeah, I know, you're not very nice people, a lot of lesbians. Rachel said, Bryony, you're being aggressive, in that passive aggressive tone. And I said, no, I am here. I'm in distress because you're bullying me out of here with a cup of tea. And I said, my partner could go to prison and it will be your responsibility if he does, because he took a caring role through Care for the Carers, and coercive control is up to 5 years in prison. So they bullied me out of there, took the cup of tea, which I didn't finish drinking. I've warned my partner about this time after time after time, and I'm not going to be a doormat anymore. So basically he's gone from saying the keys are Eben's and that it's theft for you to have the keys, even though Eben says you can stay in her flat. I've never met this woman. She's got a home in Nigeria. And then he's had the keys cut. So he said to me while I'm on the phone to a care coordinator who's going to find out if he's still in a caring role, he said, I'll get the keys cut. And then he's taken the keys from me. And when I'm trying to get the unused new set of keys cut from him, he's assaulted me over it. And I'm sick to death of him pushing and shoving me and thinking it's okay when he's had me arrested for just trying to make a cup of tea in his flat because he likes everything just so. He assaulted me in the kitchen when he was wiping the surfaces with a t-shirt that he was wearing, a t-shirt that I bought him. He was wearing a t-shirt and shorts, and I said, "There's a cloth here, Darren." And it's a cloth that he had folded into a square on the sink. And he violently said, "Give me that cloth." And he tore it out of my hand, which then prompted me to react aggressively. So, yeah, it's not right. And I'm now saying, "No, Darren, I'm not going to protect you anymore." So, yeah, so 72 hours ago, I've been too scared to contact his parents, who he's kept from me. By the way, I never had a happy 40th. I was turned 40 in March. To get him to say happy birthday was practically impossible, even though I decorated a hotel room with happy 50th balloons and decorations at one of the hotels. And then a month later, as an informal patient in the psychiatric unit, I was arrested out of there, and the police, I think he was behind that, because I was arrested and bullied out of the psychiatric unit in hospital pajamas, and he was screaming down the phone at me violently because PC Harriet said he was a knob. So I'd done a lot for his 50th birthday to surprise him, and done a happy birthday Darren on YouTube, and I'd gone to all that trouble, and I've had bugger all from him or his family for my 40th birthday in March, whilst I've been self-funding hotels, and members of the council have done nothing to help me. And they've been failing to stop and correct the vulnerability. Oh, he even mocked me when I said that. He went, failure to stop and correct. Yeah, very mature for a 53-year-old, Darren. And your dad said to me, "You've got a brilliant brain. Why don't you use it then? Why don't you stop abusing me? Because I've told people how wonderful you are, that you're an expert in the Hebrew Aramaic scriptures, that you went to grammar school, that you really are intelligent, unlike my eldest sister. I've put you on a pedestal above my eldest sister, and now you could be arrested for this. Well done, Darren." He was even screaming, "No, I never was arrested," while I was on the phone to 999, because it was the same 999 call handler 72 hours ago that I recorded on my laptop, saying that she wouldn't terminate my call. And I said, "Well, I've had call handlers say they wouldn't, and then they've terminated my call." And she said, "Well, I won't." And then she did, after an hour of speaking to her. And then she was the same 999 call handler who was responding to the violence while Darren was attacking me. Well done, 999. Well done, Sussex Police. Well done. You're all need to be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Everyone should know this stuff. This is textbook. This is basic stuff. This is, children should know this stuff by now. It's everywhere. But it's sociopathic. It really is. And I've put up with it for so long. And I've been crying my guts out, crying my heart out over this. I was in a relationship with an absolute real bastard who I met at the comedy club, who was a real Jekyll and Hyde character, who came to my mother's funeral and turned violent almost immediately after her funeral. And I tell you what, emotional abuse is the most devastating thing ever. And Darren is going to get his lesson, hopefully, because I don't actually think prison would be enough for him, because I've warned him time and time and time again, and I've taken his arrogance and emotional abuse. I've stood up for him, and people have said, no, Bryony, you need to report this. So he's assaulted me in hotel rooms that I've spent thousands of pounds of severe disability back pay on, even though he's been in a caring role for me through Care for the Carers, and I've been on severe disability. And Tina Che from the Independent Advice Network, whom I reported to trading standards because she said I shouldn't be in these places, you name it. And what's he done? They've all done bugger all. And I've been completely on my own. No friends, no family. I can't turn to my sisters. You name it. I'm doing this for my mother and my grandmother. My mother said she'd be waiting for me on the other side, because whether there's a heaven or a hell or whatever, whether we're, I don't know what happens after we die, but I know where I'm going, to the right place, wherever that right place is. But basically, so 72 hours ago, he's assaulted me over a plastic bag, because I've said, if you don't give me those keys that you've had cut, that you're now taking from me, and he's assaulted me over it. I've stumbled. It took guts for me to ring his dad and leave a voice message so his dad could hear the screaming and shouting. And Darren was shouting at me, because they must know that their sweet, gentle boy, his mum Jill, said he was sent to you. Really, I think I was sent to Darren, because Jill, you said to me he was sent to you. I think I was sent to Darren, actually, because you told me yourself. I do worry about him. He's 53, for crying out loud. I've bought his clothes. I did something lovely for his 50th birthday. And PC Harriet said he was a knob. And he screamed and shouted at me for it. And he wasn't down there at the hospital for me. So whilst Sussex police have been, he was arrested. It's on the system. He was screaming and shouting, no, I haven't been arrested. He was arrested once. So it will be on the system, because Sussex police are going to investigate this. And it took a lot of guts for me to leave that voice message for David, his father. I'm so full of anxiety. I'm putting on airs and graces because my mother brought me up to be this Jane Austen lady bullshit. Sorry, mother, but I'm not a Jane Austen lady. Bryony is not a Jane Austen lady. Let's get that right. It's my mother's fantasy of me. She liked Jane Austen. I was into Anne Boleyn because my adoptive grandmother was distantly related to Anne Boleyn, and I had a thing about Anne Boleyn. I was into the Tudors. But my mother brought me up to be all pristine and ladylike. I'm not ladylike. Well, I am ladylike, but I'm human. I'm human. It means I can't take any more of this bullshit. And after 1 hour and 23 minutes, I still have not said what happened at the hospital 24 hours ago. So I basically called the police 72 hours ago after Darren assaulted me over the key business. I went up to Beachy Head. I was too afraid to see the police. So I went up to Beachy Head in the rain. Well, it wasn't raining when I started to go up there. I was like this, no purse, no money on me, in my slippers. It started to rain. I started to get soaked through to the skin. I didn't care. I just thought, I want to jump off those cliffs. I'd reported it to the police, and I thought, you're all over the place. So how can I see the police when I've rang them several times and then been arrested? I phoned 999. I phoned 999 on the 29th of April 2000 and last year, 2021, to report a licensee threatening to beat me senseless. I'll do a separate video for that, because I'd really like my cousin to see this, my second cousin to see this. I recorded a licensee threatening to beat me senseless, and 3 hours later I was arrested on a fraud, and I will put those recordings in a separate video. I'm very ill right now. I'm just trying to get the words out. But basically, I'm too afraid to see the police because of all this targeting. So I've then gone up to Beachy Head 24 hours ago, soaked through to the skin. I just walked in there sopping wet at it was about 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. I had an empty bottle of water, and they filled the bottle of water. Went into the toilets, crying my eyes out, trying to keep it low key, because it's like that nothing I do is going to be right, because the police have basically, they'll arrest me. It's a catch-22. I've had to report emotional domestic abuse, and yet if I see the police, they might arrest me on a fraud. So I'm suicidal. It's all up in the air. I don't know what to do. So I've gone into the toilets crying. Then I've come out. Then 2 police officers have come out, 2 of the nice ones. Two of these nice police officers have come out, and they said, "Are you okay? We've had a report that you." And I said, "I can't talk to the police." And he said, "No, it's okay. It's okay. Look," and I explained why I couldn't talk to the police and what's happened in the past. I gave them a small inkling of why I couldn't talk to them. They said, "We're here to help you." He had a foreign accent. Well, they both had foreign accents. Maybe that's why they were nice. I don't know. This is the UK system that they've been enrolled into, the corrupt UK system. But you could see in their eyes that you could just see that they care. And the other one looked, you can see the tears in their eyes. You can just see it. You can see it in the eyes. So they got me to come and sit in the car, and I cried my eyes out. I explained what had happened with my partner and the keys, the emotional abuse and the assault. I was crying my eyes out because I said, I don't know what to do. I just want to jump off those cliffs. I was soaked through to the skin. I said how last time I was up there on Beachy Head, how they had assaulted me, beaten me, stripped me naked, sectioned me after terminating my calls to the police. I'd already had a letter from the Professional Standards Department apologising for doing this days before, and then they'd done it again. And that was in the Citrus Hotel. I'd emailed the local MP. And I said, I'm just sick to death of all of this. And I said, I've been slandered in the Herald as beating the police, even though it was a welfare check. The solicitor was as confused as I was, in the same way that Darren's dad was confused that he'd taken a caring role for me, and then I never saw him again. This solicitor was confused how can a welfare check end up as me being reported as beating the police? And she wanted me to, that was in 2020, she wanted me to say that I had say that you've beaten, you couldn't make this stuff up, say that I've beaten the police to get housing, to get a probation officer to help me with housing. So if I admit to the criminal offence, their criminal offence, with no paperwork, it was a fraud, it was a kangaroo court. This is what they do. So, but anyway, on this occasion, I managed to get through that fraud, that fraud that the Freemasons are setting up. That they're doing this to everyone. This is what social services are doing to people. This is what I'm learning from other vulnerable people. So I'm just saying this to Katie, because I know, Katie, you'll be watching this. So these two nice police officers, 24 hours ago, nearly 72 hours. It was 24 hours ago. It's not last night. It was the night before last. I was taken to the patrol centre, and I gave a statement, and I was on the phone to Juliet, to my lady witness friend. I gave a statement, and he said, he was explaining what would happen with my partner and the emotional abuse and everything, what might happen and everything. So that was 24 hours ago, and then they took me down to A&E, and I was in there overnight, into the next day, up until last night. So I was in A&E for 24 hours. All they gave me was some sandwiches and piss weak tea. Excuse my French. It was like Nat's piss. I need a strong cup of tea, I do. But then at the same time, actually, maybe they make it piss weak on purpose, because obviously you need sleep. But my head was splitting after 24 hours. So I'd been laying, I tell you what, there was a patient there who was nice to me. She bought me a cup of tea and a Kit Kat. They're all wearing mouth masks, and it's all very, what's the word? Dehumanizing. But she was wearing a mouth mask, but she was very nice. She'd bought me a cup of tea and a Kit Kat, and she said that was her deed for the day. And someone else there said, are you okay and everything? And she wasn't wearing a mouth mask. But I was laying there. I was just laying there and thinking, I'm not a part of the world. I've got no friends, no family. I have got to jump off Beachy Head and die. All I can think of is death and dying and suicide. And a few times I sobbed, quietly cried to myself, because I was sat away from the main A&E area where it's tucked away. But that was during the daytime, and then because that first night that I was brought down there, they said, Bryony, because they all know what's on my record. The woman who'd initially seen me said she was a bit sharp. I found her a bit sharp, but she came out to me and she said, Bryony, they all know this. Because they all talk to each other. They're all part of the same club. This is the DG. This is Eastbourne Hospital, where my mother had been dying of cancer 13 years ago before she went into the hospital. Before she went into St Wilfrid's Hospice. I mean, if you're watching, I would, because I want you to see this, Katie, my cousin, my second cousin. I had a care. You know, this is the Eastbourne DGH. I could go through all the horror stories, but I just want to let you know again, reiterate that this is a hospital where my mother had been dying of cancer, and Tanya bullied me. She didn't want me to see mum in there without her present. So I'm used to coerce. I was also at the time going through a violent relationship with an absolute bastard who, funnily enough, knows my current partner. Well, no, they don't know each other. He's in a relationship with a vulnerable woman who is friends with Darren, my partner. And this Janine is very vulnerable herself because she's been with some very oh shitty shit. Sorry, my battery's going to cut out. Hang on a second. My battery is going to cut out. I've just had to get my plug and plug it in. Oh, but basically, the Eastbourne DGH hospital, I've just had to plug it in. Can't let the battery cut out now. God. What, an hour and 37 minutes and I'm dying for the loo. So basically this is the Eastbourne DGH where Tanya had bullied me, saying you can't see mum without us. And so I spent time with this creep who was violent to me almost immediately after my mother's funeral. And it's just coincidence of coincidences that he's been married twice. This is someone who found their wife at the bottom of the stairs after she took an overdose. So it's people like me that attract bastards like that. And he's in a relationship with this Janine that he's known for about 35 years. And Janine has been through... I saw her at St Mary's House, and this lady has a history of she's been a victim of serious abuse, and she just happens to be friends with my current partner. That's Eastbourne for you. It's, you know, it's like everybody knows each other's business, and you know, I attract all the people who attract all the funny ones. You know, there's a funny ones club in Eastbourne. But anyway, there we go. But so Tanya bullied me from visiting my mother in the Eastbourne DGH when she was dying. She went into St Wilfrid's Hospice, and if it wasn't for me, mum would not have gone into St Wilfrid's Hospice. It was me who suggested it to her in the old hospice, because they did activity week there and stuff for people who were going through cancer treatment. I went to the new hospice about 2 or 3 years ago. I kept trying to see the nurses who nursed my dying mother. It took me a lot of courage. And just like Tanya, this narcissistic bitch came out of nowhere, gave me her card, and it said Ella Williams, care coordinator on it. And she said, "Bryony, what are you doing here? You saw Rav the counsellor at the old hospice." I didn't know who this woman was. And she said, I will do with this Maria. And Maria, this lovely Spanish nurse who'd nursed my dying mother, she sort of sheepishly went away. That's what it was like for me when I did care work, okay? Because I was bullied when I did care work. So I felt sorry for Maria. But I've had that at my doctor's surgery when I've had a receptionist that I knew from somewhere else crying for me, holding my hand, and the complaints manageress has bullied her away. So those of us who are real empaths, super empaths, there's a lot of jealousy going on, let me tell you. So yeah, so 24 hours ago I was told by this nurse, this triage nurse, that the police had taken a statement from me about Darren's abuse. They'd taken me down there, and then I saw the triage nurse who said, wait here and everything and all of that. And then she said, right, Bryony, she was a bit curt with me, but then she says, oh, the only person that you can see is Shani. Now, this is Shani. This is someone that my partner alleged a few years ago tore up his CAS card in A&E. About 5 or 6 years ago, he alleged that he... Now, I was told by her colleague that if she'd done that, she would have lost her job. Right. But what she did to me was a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials. Why? Because in 2018 on my section then, when I'd been bullied and assaulted by juvenile delinquents, and then, God, you couldn't make this stuff up. I demanded that I demanded on that section that I have my phone to contact the police over my possessions. And this Shani said, no, you're not. No, they were pushing and shoving me out of the office door. And I said, I want to know about my possessions in my council accommodation. And then they dragged me back to into the little room, into my little room, the private room. And Shani from the crisis team came up. Now, this is someone that 5 or 6 years ago, my partner had said tore up his CAS card when he was talking to her. Now, I don't know what my partner said, but 5 or 6 years ago, when he told me that, I was in Tesco's at the time doing food shopping. And I was so angry for him that I went down to A&E and I said to the receptionist, do you know what my partner has said about Shani? And this receptionist, they all start off being nice. She was like, I'm so sorry, I can't deal with it. Now, the last time I saw her, she was raising her eyes at her colleague like like that. This is what this is. These are kind of idiots that I've had to deal with. And at that time, I came all the way from Tesco up to where Darren's flat is, which is not far. It's a long walk when you're exhausted to go from Tesco at Lockbridge Drove all the way to the DGH and all the way to my partner's flat. It's a lot of walking and stress to do because you've got to go up a steep hill as well. And I knocked on his door and he opened the door that widely. This is about 5 or 6 years ago. And I said, do you know what I've done? I've gone down to the hospital and I've spoken on your behalf about this Shani who you said tore up your CAS card. And he was angry with me. I said, why are you angry with me? I've just gone down there with the food shopping and you've had a go at me. He's opened the door this wide. Oh, why did you do that? And he's having a go at me. He might have even called the police on me that time. This is what I mean. So this is what I've been having to put up with all this time from my partner. So fast forward to 24 hours ago, this triage nurse is saying to me, do you want to the only person that you can see is Shani, because they know I don't want to see her, because this woman had illegally, forcibly sedated me, which is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials in 2018. This is after Darren had alleged he tore up his CAS card when he was talking to her and saying, I don't know what. And she and a group of nursing assistants pinned me down. And I said to her, because I was angry that they weren't giving me my phone to contact the police over my possessions in one of these temporary accommodations. This was in 2018, I think it was. And because I'd said to her, you tore up Darren's CAS card, that was cowardly. So she said, right, give her the injection. That, Shani, is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials. How do I know? Because John Patterson told me that. You know, the 71-year-old man fighting against, I saw the legalese documents, who was in there on a mental health fraud, like some of these social workers, like Carol Woods, who'd been to the Scotland Yard with NHS documents of baby organ donors. Yeah, all the corruption around that. Because I met this John Patterson, ex-RAF fraud investigator, who was in there on a mental health fraud. Yeah, so basically I didn't want to see Shani from the crisis team 24 hours ago because of what she'd done to me, illegally sedating me. Then I had to wait all night, suicidal, lying there on the seats, wet through to the skin with a blanket over me, getting a sore throat, getting physically ill as well as mentally unwell. And then during the daytime, at some point in the afternoon, it must have been, they brought out two different people from the crisis team. Alison and what's her name? Becca. She got blonde hair and glasses. Is it Becca? Rebecca? Something or other. I'm really not interested in these people. But I know Alison from 2016 because Alison found it amusing. She's one of the charge nurses in from the psychiatric unit. Alison, they told me Alison would be leaving her job. No, she's still there. Alison from 2016, she found it amusing when I said that Darren, my partner's dad, was so fed up with all the stress of what was going on with trying to get me help that he was worried about his having a heart attack. And she went, that's Alison for you. And I told Darren that, and Darren alleged, my partner alleged he told his father that, and he alleged, because I can't trust my partner anymore, but he alleged that his father said, I find that hard to believe. Well, it doesn't matter anyway, either way, because Alison laughed again at me yesterday afternoon when I was trying to give them all the horror stories that Sussex Partnership, in a nutshell. I wasn't going to go through the be all and end all because I would have been there for hours. But they only have, this is the funny thing, they only have a small amount of time to give to people. Yet they have all the time in the world to put people through all this corruption and fraud and arrests and dragging people around and then slandering me in the paper, slandering me in the Herald paper, despite the many times I've been assaulted by Sussex police, despite the fact that I've got a 26-year battle with the mental health services, as you can see here, briny battles on. My mother also, I might add, got me around the same time a front page headline in the Seaford Gazette saying my my daughter nearly driven to suicide by school bullies or something like that, to do with Seaford Head, my school. So yeah, but Eastbourne is where all the Freemasons, it's a stronghold for Freemasons, and they know it, and they know because they're watching me as well. So anyway, so yeah, so basically what am I trying to say? So this Alison, so she found it oh so amusing 6 years ago that my partner's father was worried about having a heart attack. And that she goes on to laugh or give a little laugh at the end when I'm trying to talk to her and Becca from the crisis team about all the horrors. I tried to tell them about, this is where Becca, the blonde one with the glasses, said, "No, Bryony, I don't need to hear what you've got to say." When I was about to tell them about the fact that Sussex Police Professional Standards Department had already apologised for hanging up on me prior to, again, hanging up on me when I reported a hotel guest threatening to go in my hotel room and drag my things out, when I have copies of emails from the local government ombudsman, because they too went on to hang up on me on that section 136 after the police beat me on Beachy Head in 2020. And then I was sectioned, taken to the Meadowfield, taken back to Eastbourne Psychiatric Unit. And then I was trafficked onto Belmore Road, the property I've been keeping away from my safety, because all of last year, the paramedics, the number of times they took me to the crisis team and the urgent care lounge, the best they could do was give me a cup of tea and a sandwich, and they'd send me back to that property where I've had my bedroom window smashed and I've been attacked. But I've got Juliet, my lady witness, who's going through cancer treatment, and she was attacked in the street by random drunks last year for trying to help me. And I was trying to tell them, but they kept interrupting me, saying, "You're not listening," doing that narcissistic, demented, covert narcissistic thing where they're interrupting me, saying, "You're not listening." And I'm saying, "Can you stop interrupting?" "No, you're not listening." "No, can you stop interrupting me?" "No, you're not listening." So every time they interrupted me, I said, "No, you need to hear this." "No, Bryony, we don't need to hear it." So because they're the ones who've got the authority and the power, I'm then saying to them, "Listen, on the 7th of October, I went down to Eastbourne Police Desk to say that I would be returning with my lady witness, Juliet, who was attacked in the street by random drunks trying to help me. Then I was put through 24 hours of the most terrifying ordeal of my life on a fraud, threatened with prison, taken in a Serco truck to Brighton Magistrates' custody in my pyjama. No, I don't think it was in my pyjamas. No, it was last year in my pyjamas and dressing gown when I rang 999 and recorded that demented alcoholic on a criminal tag. That's when I was arrested in my hospital, my pyjamas and slippers. So this has all been happening in my council accommodation. The paramedics know all about it. They're all in on it. I even had to report an ECSW for coming in, and they were trying to, I don't know what they were trying to do, but they would say it came in to try and get a reaction. They're demented. They're utterly demented. "What are you doing with those alcohol bottles?" "I don't drink. I'm suicidal." They're trying to stitch me up, basically. So yeah, so I basically sat with Alison and Becca, whatever her name is, from the blonde-haired one with the glasses. "I don't want to hear it, Bryony. I don't want to hear it." I said, "No, you need to hear it. We don't need to hear it, Bryony." oh, are you going to listen on? Oh, and they're trying to antagonize me. I said, no, you need to, why? No, we need to know why you're here. I said, no, you also need to hear what's happened to me previously. Because the thing is, they then write what happens on your medical records. This is part of the fraud. There was one time I was with the crisis team, and Janie, I spoke to this blonde-haired Janie, the one with the blonde bob, and she was like this, listening to me. And I said, and it's the first time I'd ever actually looked to see what someone was writing about me. And I said, why are you writing? All she wrote was aggressive. This stupid, pointless woman. You're a pointless, and I'm trying to be nice with my words, you're a pointless individual. My mother wouldn't believe this. She wouldn't believe this. But it's all a setup. This is, let me just let you know, this is all by design. This is all by design. This blonde-headed bobbed woman, I'm listening to you, yes. Why are you writing down that I'm being aggressive? Oh, well, I'm sorry, Bryony, but that's how you're coming across. These people are, they're either sleepers or, well, they're brainwashed at best. But there's something not right with them. There's something, at best, there's something not right here. So I could see where this was going. I knew what Alison and her colleague were doing yesterday afternoon. So I said, I said, you need to hear this. No, Bryony, we just need to know what's led you to this. I thought the police must have told them, because they all know. They pass the information around. They know my name. They know me by name. The police took me down here. They will have told them she's here because of a domestic abuse incident. We're going to follow it up. They know I was taken down from Beachy Head, but they didn't want to hear about this. So even when I was trying to tell them about the damning ward review recording, which is totally damning, by the way, where I had recorded doctors offering me help, saying I can stay on the ward because a housing, and because I told them that a housing officer didn't turn up on the 13th of June, John Robinson. This is in 2019. This is when I'd been dragged in there in handcuffs and then 4 months later arrested out of there. This was a month after they disappeared John Patterson, the fraud investigator. They disappeared him out of there, and I was trying to tell them about the ward review about in 2019 and how Jackie Lake said, I said to her, you can't release me with nowhere to go, and she said, yes, we can, despite the fact that I just said to her that Councillor Robin Maxted said you can't release me with nowhere to go, because I spoke to Councillor Robin Maxted in my partner's flat, because I was an informal patient there, homeless informal patient. And she said, yes, we can. Right, I'm calling the police. She's no longer a ward manageress there. It's that horrible Polish nurse. But no, she didn't want to hear any of what I had to say. So, of course, I raised my voice because I was frustrated. I wasn't shouting. I was quite rightly angry, and I walked out. What did they do? They told hospital staff that I had been aggressive. So I went back. You couldn't make this up. It's like, I feel like a cow's arse. And the flies that are flying around me are the narcissists, these parasites, because they're coming from left, right, and centre, and you name it. So I went and sat back in A&E, and then I had this nurse come out to me, and I said, look, I'll tell you what, they've said that you were aggressive. Now, the thing is, Alison had did what she did when 6 years ago, when I said that Darren's father is worried about having a heart attack. She gave a little chuckle. Now, they don't like me because I am standing up to them the way that everyone in this country should be standing up for themselves and doing it the right way. So, but they didn't do anything apparently, just like when my partner and I were assaulted, because 2 days before I was arrested out of the psychiatric unit, I'll just add, Darren and I was injured and assaulted trying to protect Darren from a security guard. I had my nose, I was dragged along when I put my arm up to defend my partner from a thug of a security guard, and that was 2 days before I was arrested out of there. And it was a hospital porter who had just prior to that incident rubbed my shoulders. The hospital porter, an old man, an old geezer, who got me to sit down, gave me a cup of water, and he did the Masonic hand gesture. You can look it up, the Masonic hand gesture for kings. And he said Tesh's senior nurse practitioner was a coup in his own country. And a coup is a king. He said coup, king, coup/king. And he did the Masonic hand gesture for kings. And he said this needs to go to the chief executive. And then I was assaulted and injured trying to protect my partner from this security guard who assaulted me and injured me. That was 2 days before, in 2019, when I was arrested out of the psychiatric unit. So Alison didn't want to hear any of that. Neither did her blonde-haired colleague, Becca. And as I said, she gave a little chuckle, just like she did when I said that Darren's father was worried about having a heart attack. She did that. And yet they said that I was aggressive. That's how demented these people are. But thankfully, I was sat in A&E with, yesterday afternoon, they brought out a very nice Northern Irish security guard called Rob and his colleague, and you could see the red face, the tears in their eyes. You could see the distress, because you know that they will have dealt with other people similar to me. And they were the ones doing the job of the crisis team. They were the ones being compassionate. It's always the way, isn't it? It's always the people who are the least likely to be the ones being compassionate and empathetic. So this nurse who I just knew, the one who told me that they said I'd been aggressive, she couldn't be trusted. I knew that there was something about her, and I'm going to come to that. She didn't give me her name, even though I asked for that. Please read the description below, because I'm going to explain at the end of this live stream is where I come to what actually happened. The first part of this live stream is a message to my second cousin, and the last part of this live stream is what the title is about. It's just taken me a very long time to explain all of this. Thank you for bearing with me. So, please excuse me. I feel like an 80-year-old. I feel twice my age. So basically, so that was in the afternoon yesterday. So it then went into the evening. They gave me the odd sandwich and pissweak tea, excuse my French. And anyway, Rob, the Northern Irish security guard, he was very nice. I told him everything and he was very understanding, and he said I'm going to leave you now. Sorry, I always imitate people's accents. He was a really nice chap though. He said, listen, Brainy, you seem like a lovely lady. Sorry, I'm not being rude. I like doing people's accents. And he said, you said something like, you seem like a very clued up lady, and I'm going to leave you now with. Now, he was the most genuine person I spoke to. Maybe it's an Irish thing. I don't know. I've got the Irish in my blood, McCarthy. I don't know. You'll know about that, Katie, because you've got it in you as well. It's on my father's side. But basically, he said, I'm going to leave you now with these security guards and they're going to look after you. Now, one of them seemed quite nice. The other one, the bald-headed chap, he turned out to be a right piece of... And I had a feeling about the bald one. He gave me blankets and he was like, we will look after you and all that. But his colleague seemed like the better... what's the phrase? The better of the two evils. But he still seemed like a nice guy. Because the thing is, I'm going to tell you what happened, because they ended up threatening me off the premises, and I'm going to come to that, because I was told that if I left the premises, they would get the police to bring me back. Right? Okay. That's what this nurse said to me. The nurse who wouldn't give me her name. But I'm going to come to that. So I'm just leading up to that bit. So bear with me. Excuse me. So they're telling me not to leave the hospital, because if I do, they'll get the police to bring me back. These security guards who are getting me blankets saying, we'll look after you, ended up bullying me off the premises, even though the police had told me to stay there. And I'm going to come to all of that. I'm going to come to that. Because the security guards, I wish I could have recorded it. They said, we don't care what the police have said. This is what I mean, folks. It is, if you're a victim of the corruption, if you're a TI, if you're a targeted individual, this is the UK corruption now. I've heard it's worse up north. I've had more than one person say to me it's worse up north. But anyway, the bald-headed security guard said, I'll give you a blanket, and you'll be all right, blah, 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 blah. So he's given me 2 blankets, and because I'm lying down in a different place now, because I'm literally, it makes you physically ill, the stress. My life is being shortened every minute just by all this. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about. This is the Tavistock Institute program. This is what they do to TIs. The Tories won't fund mental health, not just because they don't believe in it, because they use trauma to control the masses. This is the suicide programming. So by the daytime, I'd said I don't. So Alison and this woman said, well, you're going to have to wait to the night shift till someone comes on the night shift. And I believe this is all deliberate, because they knew I didn't want to see Shani from the night before, and they know, because they've got it written down, because this nurse that I'd never spoken to before said, Bryony, it's Shani. Just to let you know, it's Shani. Okay, well, I don't want to see her. Okay, well, they're the only people on duty. So then I've had, during the daytime, these 2 imbeciles say that I'm being aggressive because I got annoyed that they would refuse to listen to what they need to listen to, that the torture and the corruption they've put me through. So I wait until the night. I've got this bald-headed Dave something was his name, because he was aggressive towards me and wouldn't switch his body camera on and turned his lanyard over, all being fakey, giving me the blankets and everything. So I waited until the night shift. My head was starting to hurt by now. And I know it's taking me bloody ages to say this. It's like the slow death, I know. And it's like the slow death going through it. You've got to go through it to know what it's like. So I'm then told to see. So they bring out, I wait until the evening and they call out Bryony McCarthy. And guess what? It's Shani. Even with the mouth masks on, I can tell. And I was unbelievably polite. Do you know why? Because I know what they're going to do. So I'm all mousy and I go down there and I said, because it's very difficult to see with the mouth masks on. You might just be looking at any plump lady with a mouth mask on, because anyone who's plump looks the same with a mouth mask on. Yes, I am being rude and cheeky, but you've got my blood on your hands and you find it funny. So, yeah, I will say that. So my mother brought me up to be so polite, and I think even she died crying for me, thinking you guys were helping me when you were exploiting me. So the fact that you've illegally forcibly injected me, which is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials, I'm not going to worry too much about calling you a plump woman or a coward. I had it in my mind to refer to you as a BASTARD, but I thought probably best not to. So I very politely said, I don't want to see Shani. And there were people in A&E looking. I said, I've already said I don't want to see her. No, well, that's fine. We're the only people on duty. Now, the nurse who I had a feeling might turn funny and turned out to be a nasty piece of work, the triage nurse. She's got spiky hair. I don't know what her name is. I don't even know if she was a triage nurse, but she was the one who said to me, if you leave, we'll get the police to bring you back. I've said I don't want to see Shani. And the blonde-haired lady, she's nice. I think they deliberately get her because how can I say? I don't want to be rude, but she's nicey nice, if you know what I mean. Sort of going along with it, nicey nice. Whereas Shani is sociopathic, borderline, passive aggressive, got that dangerous side because of what she did to me, and allegedly did what she did to my partner, because that's why she illegally forcibly injected me, because I said that she was a coward. So for a second time, this is the following night, I'm saying, after 24 hours there, I'm saying, no, I don't want to see you. So what do? Even though I've been told you can't leave the hospital, Bryony, or we'll get the police to bring you back, they've gone away. Some conversation has gone on without my knowledge. I've gone and sat down because I'm getting the reception, because I'm so physically and mentally weak. I haven't been given proper food. I've been given the odd sandwich and piss weak tea. And I have got them to charge my mobile phone because it's on its batteries cutting out. it's literally on its last charge. It's on a red, you know, it's flashing red. And in the meantime, trying to get through to the police has been a nightmare, especially without having them hang up on me to find out what the hell is going on, because my partner's got the keys that he won't give me. There's already a warrant out. There's something out for, you know, an arrest thing going on with him, an investigation. I can't get back into here. I've got nowhere to go. And guess what? There, despite the fact that I've been brought down from our world famous suicide spot, soaking wet through to the skin, and after 24 hours, I'm being told that if I leave there, they'll get the police to come out to bring me back. They're then saying, you're being aggressive, Bryony. Bearing in mind, I've got no friends and no family to turn to. I couldn't even ring my lady witness, Juliet, because she's got problems with her family and what's going on with her. I can't ring the police. I'm trying to... I keep charging up the phone on the A&E police desk. They won't, pardon me, they won't give me the charger. I got to keep going to the desk. I'm physically and mentally weak. I can't, it's midnight by now, or coming up to midnight. I can't ring up Juliet. I can't put her through stress. She's going through cancer treatment, but she's also concerned about me. She's dealing with her sister's mental health. She's got an autistic nephew she's looking after. She's an absolute gem of a person. I can't put stress onto her. I'm literally, this feels like it's all being done deliberately. It's like, it's mental. So I can't, police are messing me around. So then the hospital are basically making out I'm being... Now, I had some people say, are you okay? Some patients in A&E. These people who had been beaten up, and I don't mean to be rude, but they were sort of a bit rough around the edges. It doesn't matter. I don't know them. They don't know me, but they were concerned about me. This woman had been beaten to a pulp. She wouldn't even press charges. And she said, oh, I saw them sitting with you, the security guards. She said, did you see the guy with the hoodie, the lad? They didn't do anything about him. He apparently smacked over a tray that had some things on it, some pills or cups of water or something. He smacked it over, a guy in a hoodie, and they didn't touch him. But this is what they do, folks. They do nothing. They did nothing about a drunk for 3 hours. That's what staff said to hospital staff said to me and my partner after we'd been assaulted and I'd been injured. I got a nosebleed because I was dragged protecting my partner. My arm, I was dragged along the ground. I put my arm up to protect him, and then the hospital door slammed into my face and caused me to have a bloody nose. And this is what they cover up. You know, if you're a decent member of the public in the UK, you'll get attacked. But if you're a police protected criminal, it's all cushy because the police are corrupt. They're criminals. They're paedophiles. They're it's Crime Bodge on YouTube, and Police Abusing Powers have covered all of this. That the police are it's all coming out that the police are wife beaters and paedophiles and whatnot. They're everything that's evil themselves. So it's hardly surprising, is it? We live in a society where you can't trust anyone. But anyway, they went away and they said, oh, Bryony is whatever, being a problem. It was enough for them to say, Bryony, they don't want you here anymore. I said, why? I said, I've told them I don't want to be here, because I did say I don't want to be here. It's useless. Why would I want to see people who are from the crisis team who've already done everything they can possibly do to me? The urgent care lounge have sent me back to a property where I've been attacked. They're the people, Sussex Partnership. Look up Sussex Partnership. Look up the reviews. 100% bad on Trustpilot. There's also another website. What did I say it was called? Something to do with Sussex Partnership. But basically, there's bullying, staff bullying. There's someone in New Haven where my eldest sister lives. I'm surprised it's not my eldest sister who's bullying her. Because, I mean, that Jackie Lake, the ward manageress in the psychiatric unit, that big, enormous Jackie, she reminds me of my big, enormous, scary eldest sister. It's a trigger. It's a trigger. It's a PTSD trigger. Because that's what my eldest sister was like when I was little. So yeah, so basically I've got to get this off my chest. So security, the bald-headed one and his colleague, the nice Irish one, had gone home by now. They were saying, you've got to leave. I said, but there was this nurse with grey hair, Amanda something. What was her name? Amanda something, can't remember, but she was the one who said, you've got to leave. Crisis team is saying you've got to leave. I said, but I want to leave anyway. I said, I can't. I said, I don't want to see them. I said that I didn't. I said last night that I didn't want to see Shani because she's assaulted me. And the bald-headed security guards, this is at the point where he'd changed towards me. He said, when did she assault you? What are you talking about? Oh, it won't. I said, you weren't there. It was a few years ago in the psychiatric unit. I was illegally, forcibly sedated by this psychopath. I said, I didn't want to see her last night. I don't want to see her now. She's said it's all saving face. She's saying it that I'm being aggressive because they are already in trouble for what they've done to me. So it's to save face. And I've already said, I don't want to be here. They said, you've got to leave. I said, well, the nurse has said that if I leave, they'll get the police to bring me back here. So 1 minute they were saying, you need to go and speak to the police over there. There was a great big fat bald-headed police officer. What's his name? Absolute idiot. Now I don't remember him, but he remembers me. How about that? Middle-aged, bald-headed, fat thug. And I went up to him and I politely said, excuse me, I've been told that I said I can't leave here because my partner, there's an investigation over an assault. I was taken down from Beachy Head. Oh God, I can't deal with you. I've got to go and deal with a criminal. I've got to go and deal with a criminal in A&E. And I said, okay, but I've been told I need to speak to the police. Yeah, no, Bryony, your name's Bryony. I've spoken to you many times before. I said, right, well, I don't remember. I said, well, the security here are telling me to leave. Oh, I'm not interested. So before I thought that he was a fat, bald-headed thug, I was polite to him before he said, oh, Bryony, I've spoken to you many times before. I've got to go and speak to a criminal. So this is while the bald-headed thug security guard was coming up to me saying, you got to go, and he put his hands up. I said, excuse me, can you not come any closer to me? I said, can you put and there was an old couple looking at me, which I was glad about. An old couple were looking at me from a distance. I said, could you put your body camera on? I don't want you coming anywhere near me. I don't have to do that. I said, yes, you do. No, I don't. By law, I don't have to do that. And I looked at his name. It was Dave something. At this point, I was getting very my brain, this is how people get Alzheimer's, this is how people get dementia from the trauma. It's the trauma program. And I said, I was trying to remain as calm as I could. I said, please do not come anywhere near me. Put your body camera on. He wouldn't. I said, well, you do need to, because it's for both our protection. Then that stupid nurse, before I realised she was really stupid and a real bully, she then came out and started having a go. Bryony, you've got to leave. I said, and at this, I forgot to mention, I'd already asked triage if I could have something for my head because my head was splitting. I said, I can't leave. This is the same nurse who said that if I leave, she'll get the police to bring me back because they brought me down from Beachy Head, our world famous suicide spot, Suicidal. So she's gone from saying, if you leave the hospital, we'll get the police to bring you back. They're then threatening me out of there. It's a real humdinger, it really is. So my head is splitting at this point. I'd already asked a triage nurse for something for my head. I said, and she was like, but let me just add, okay, before they were bullying me out of the premises, before they were ushering me out, I said I'd asked I was reception who were charging my phone were told me to ask triage or just find any nurse that you can find. That's it. Yeah, because I just randomly went up to someone in blue. And this young girl, because they're all young looking, very young looking, wearing blue. I said, could I please have ibuprofen? Oh, what's your name? I said, I'll find out for you. I said, I can't take paracetamol because I once took. I said, I can't. Sorry, I just heard something. I said, I can't take paracetamol because I once took an overdose of paracetamol a few years ago and it made me physically sick. So that nurse was going to get me ibuprofen. So while I've been messed around and been told not to bring me back by that spiky-haired nurse, and as I said, Shani had for a second night running, I said, I don't want to see this woman. Why have you brought her out? I don't want to see her. So to save face, they're trying to bully. Then they're trying to bully me out of there. So whilst this bald-headed security guard and the nurse, the spiky-haired nurse who said that if I leave, they'll get the police to bring me back, I said, I need something for my head and I need the police to come down here because I can't, because of the domestic abuse incident, I can't get back into the flat. My partner's assaulted me. They've taken a statement and he's got the keys to this flat. So they're trying to bully me out of there. So whilst not putting the body, they refused to put their body camera on. He turned at one point, this bald-headed Dave, who was this security guard, Dave, he's turned over his lanyard, so I can't see his name. They love doing that. He's turned over his lanyard. He's trying to bully him out. He won't put the security the body camera on. Him and the spiky-haired nurse who said that if you leave, I'll get the police to bring you back. She's arguing with me and I'm saying I need something for my head. Oh, but there are lots of people dressed in blue. What nurse are you talking about? I need ibuprofen. I can't take paracetamol. She said, oh, but it's better for your head. So in the end, she just brought me some paracetamol out. So I had to take this paracetamol, retching, because paracetamol makes me retch, because in the last 6 years I've taken an overdose of paracetamol for a suicide attempt, and I was retching whilst taking it. So they're trying to bully me out of there, knowing that I've already been brought down from Beachy Head, sopping wet from the rain, suicidal, and they're releasing me suicidal with nowhere to go. So the long and short of it is, basically, security guards, these two idiots, prior to them bullying me off the hospital grounds, I've then got this foreign guy who's affirming me. He's not drunk or anything. He's outside the hospital saying they think they're above the law, don't they? So this bald-headed security guard and this stupid nurse who can't decide what she's going to do with me, she's playing mind games. She's just being an idiot. She might be a bully, but she's an idiot. She's telling me that if I leave the hospital, she'll get the police to bring me back. And she's looking tearful for me at the same time, and saying, you've got to go, you've got to go, you've got to go. I want to go anyway. I said, I can't go. I can't get into my partner's friend's flat. He's assaulted me. He's got the keys. That's why the police took a statement. That's why there's an investigation. I've got nowhere to go. You are releasing me when I've already been brought down here from our world famous suicide spot, and I want to go back up there to throw myself off. There's no point in saying any of that though, because they're just standing there, their mouths on sticks. They're just coming out with rubbish. So this foreign guy, I don't know if he's Albanian or something, but he's foreign, because he said that he's been targeted by, he's homeless, and he's got the Albanian mafia are onto him, doing some witchcraft voodoo on him. I don't know, I can't comment on that, but he said the Albanian mafia are onto him, and he said they think they're above the law. So then this bald-headed security guard starts bullying him away off the hospital grounds. I said, oh, well done, you're bullying off a member of the public. He's done nothing wrong. And then this nurse starts saying, yes, he has actually. No. You're bullying him away because he's agreeing with me. I said, you're bullying him away because he's agreeing with me. And I said, you're all absolutely disgusting. And I had to say disgusting because I didn't want to lower myself to their level, because if I start using foul words, then I'm at their level. So this is a nurse and a security guard for you. I just said, you're absolutely disgusting. You're just absolutely disgusting. You're complicit in these crimes against me. You're threatening me that I can't leave or you'll bring the police back. I've been suicidal. This is a hospital where my mother was dying of cancer, and this is how you treat good, decent people, but you protect criminals. So that kind of thing anyway. So she went back in, I went away, I got on the phone to the police. It was about just coming up to midnight around now, and the police are messing me around. Oh, we can't do anything about it. It's this man who was trying, this 101 call handler was trying to sound intelligent, but he just sounded nonsensical at best. Oh, well, we're trying to do the best we can. There isn't much we can do. We can't take you anywhere. I said, no, I'm not asking you to take me anywhere. I've been told to go to the police that are dealing with criminals in A&E, and they're saying, Bryony, we can't deal with you. My partner's assaulted me. Where am I supposed to go? I've been told that if I leave, the police will bring me back. They're then saying I'm now now I'm being bullied. And then I said, look, the phone's cutting out, and I ended up terminating the call because I wasn't getting anywhere. And it's not like I said my battery, because I said my battery's running out. Oh, well, you'll better save it then. So I just terminated the call, left a voice message for my lady friend Juliet. Then the two security guards, the bald-headed one and the other one that I thought was okay, they said, look, Bryony, the thing is, we've been told we've got to tell you to leave. We're just following orders. That's what he said. I said, there you go. I've been told in the hospital by police to stay there. It's a place of safety. I forgot to mention that I also said to them to try, that the police 101 call handler said try and speak to someone else, but you're bullying me away. And this is what the security guard said: we don't care what the police said. So 1 minute they're saying we're going to get the police to bring you back, Bryony, if you leave the hospital. Then they're saying you've got to leave. And I'm saying, but the police say I have to stay. We don't care what the police said. So they're playing games. They're playing mind games. They're being infantile. They're being demented. And this is the corruption. This is the stuff that your children and your grandchildren are going to have it even harder. They think you think your children have got it hard now. You just think what's coming next. This is a tea party in comparison. Your children are killing themselves because of this corruption. If there's no hope for me at 40 after a 26-year battle, what hope is there for your children? So there we go. I saw a child psychologist 26 years ago, and this is what it's come to. So there we go. So I was bullied off the grounds. My battery was on a low. I had nothing on me. I had no bra on. I was like this. My battery was cutting out. And I thought, what do? I thought, well, I'm just going to have to ring on the doorbell here. And my partner let me in, because what am I going to do? I thought to myself, well, either they're going to arrest him or not, or they're going to investigate or not, and they are. They're in the process of that. But there you go. What if he had turned really? What if he's been doing? What if he's done something really sociopathic, nasty that I don't know about, and they haven't come out? Because the domestic abuse people said, I'm not so safe with him, he's a predator. And then they're saying, well, look, my stuff is everywhere in this town. I've got stuff with Darren. I've got loads of boxes. I've got boxes with dolls in, and box in my partner's flat, boxes with baby things that my mother knitted and sewed, toys. No toys left. No, Tanya took that doll. I'm the only one who could have a bloody baby. Yeah, but my mother made stuff. Got a few bits that my mother made. The last of some stuff that she made, sentimental things, dolls, a couple of antique dolls in Darren's flat, stuff. And I'm not allowed in my partner's flat, I might add. And I'm not. And Steve, his friend at the food bank, has got stuff. The locks at Belmore Road have been changed. This is a property where I've been attacked. The place that Sussex Partnership, the crisis team, the dangerous property that they put me in, and they kept sending me back to, where the police have assaulted me. It's a miracle that I'm still here. It's a miracle. That was a walk in the park. That was a walk in the park in 2003, 2004. But in total, it's been a 26-year battle with the mental health services since I was 14. This is what they've done to me. The Herald has slandered me. They've done everything, because I've spoken out. So, yeah, I came back here. So that was 24 hours of torture at A&E. That is the hospital for you. That's it, basically. the first part of this live stream was a message to my second cousin. And hey ho, de ho. So scammers, fake truthers, I've been attacked, assaulted, attempted suicide, as well as the failings, the suicide programming, you name it. I've been through it all. I've absolutely been through it all. And I need to get off here. I'm not eating and sleeping properly, but I managed to come into the, I'm absolutely filthy. They sent me out there like this. I had nothing else on me, just a phone with a battery going. So 24 hours of torture and I'm released. Still wanting to voice that little something when you're a victim, a targeted individual, when you've got a little bit of fight in you. It's that little bit of something in you that has brought me to where I am now. And I've just been going through some recordings on my dictaphone, and where I've been abused by staff at the property. I'm trying to look for the hate crime. Oh, it's a joke. Better to look at the funny side, but I'm going to look for what is considered a hate crime by Steve, the contract keys to the place, who called me an effing spastic. But I'm going through all the verbal and physical abuse and ridiculous recordings on my dictaphone. As I said, Juliet is my, I won't say her surname, but Juliet is my wonderful lady witness, who's a crucial witness to my council accommodation terrorism. And I would like my second cousin to be made aware of this. Thank you for watching. I'm going to try and get the energy to post this to you. And I'll put something in the description, because 2 hours and 40 minutes is a long time to be talking, and it's very difficult to follow if you don't know me as a person. This is what happens. The worst thing I ever did was ask for help with my mental health. A lot of what I've said sounds crazy, but truth is stranger than fiction. And it's a bit of a strange way to say, how are you? How do you, and sort of, how do you do? But there we are. This is part of my YouTube documentation, but I also wanted to address this to Katie, my second cousin. Thank you, Katie.